morning, friends. This is Ash here again, doing another update vid on the election. So while we slept last night in the dark of night, some votes showed up for Joe, and now Joe is in the lead in Pennsylvania by 6,000 votes, if you could believe it. Still 95% reported. So we got that just came out, and Trump also lost his lead last night in Georgia in the dark of night. 1,000 votes show difference now. Biden in the lead with 1,000 vote difference, less than 1,000 actually. So Arizona, Maricopa will post its next report Friday today at 11 a.m. And you got Trump paring back slow. He's only down about 40,000 votes, maybe 50,000. So he's paring back slow. He's coming back. And the word I'm hearing is there's a lot of votes still out there for him. So we'll see. Still haven't called Alaska. It's a complete blowout. They never gave him the 3 votes there. And they have some insane system in Alaska where the only results they report on election night were from in-person early voting through October 29th and from the precincts on election day. No mail or other absentee ballots will be counted until about a week after the election. I don't know why you do that. Why would you do that? It's election day. It's not election week. Anyway, I was listening to the X22 report last night, and Dave was talking about Alex Padilla, he's the California, has something to do with the elections in California, and you remember his name that came up. Well, so I did a search because he was talking about the fact that, hang on a second, guys, I lost the page here. Here it is, sorry. So on August 5th, 2020, Alex Padilla, Secretary of State, State of California, Office of Voting System Technology. This is a letter talking about general elections, which is the election we just had, ballot tint and watermark assignment. And it goes on to talk about the watermark for the November 3rd, 2020 general election is the CA poppy. The tint for the background and watermark is red PMS 192. The watermark and tint must appear on the ballot itself, not only on the stub. Please note that for color-on-color combinations, the tint value, and it goes on to describe any, the watermark. So there is a watermark, apparently, at least on, I'm assuming, all the states. So if that's true, and you have a group of people that, let's say, the allegation is are printing up some of these ballots are not real, right? They're being printed up or copies were printed. Well, it's not going to have that watermark on it if that's the case. And so if it's a sting operation where we set a trap for you, you may have just fell into it then if that's the case. And we don't know that yet, but that's my thinking on it. Because how else could you really catch these people doing this otherwise, right? So Gateway Pundit, breaking overnight, Democrats finally steal Georgia. President Trump held massive rallies in Georgia, had estimated 42,000 supporters at his rally. We're told to trust our own eyes. The corrupt Democrats, big media, and big tech want us to believe that none of this happened, that somehow Biden won the election. It's a lie. And Trump had massive leads in all these states, and it's just funny how it just every time it sort of creeps back and it eventually ends up being just for one person, right? And we can see that the Federalist here has yes, the Democrats are trying to steal the election in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And there's still this allegation in Michigan that in the dark of night yesterday or the other, right after the election was over, the next day or in that night, ballots showed up 138,000 right towards the end, and they were all for Joe. You could see how he was at 1.992, and then boom, he just updated, and he was at all of a sudden only 70,000 votes down, and Trump's total never changed. So, we'll see, right? Is this allegation true? It appears like it appears suspicious, right? And we saw that there were people that were videotaped yesterday going into at around 4 o'clock in the morning with the suitcases that I showed you yesterday. There was a big Project Veritas sting that went on. And you can go on projectveritas.com at your leisure and check it out. Basically, another one, Erie, Pennsylvania USPS insider exposes November 3rd postmark voter fraud scheme. All these ballots that were coming in today, tomorrow, yesterday are all supposed to be postmarked the 3rd. So there's another allegation now that the post office is instructing certain postal carriers to bring ballots back to them to a certain person who will then backdate and stamp those with the 3rd so that they could be counted when they came in late. And also, here's another one. Las Vegas mailman agrees to pass on a nice handful of unclaimed ballots to Project Veritas undercover journalists. If it's in there, I didn't do it. And you can go watch this video. Here's another one. Michigan USPS insider delivers testimony of shady postmark scheme to hand stamp November 3rd on late ballots. Calls on other post office workers if they see anything shady to report it. Michigan law forbids votes past 8 p.m. election day. So you can see that if these allegations are true, you have a group of people that are attempting to, any way possible, get ballots into the system for Biden, whether they're copying them, whether they're late ballots, whether they're just empty ballots found in apartment complexes that aren't been filled out, anything like that. There's a concerted effort here in multiple states, it appears to me right now, of voter fraud in different ways. Not just with possibly printing all these ballots up, but by also, maybe destroying certain ballots of one side and then so that they won't be counted as well. We saw video of a guy allegedly burning 80 ballots. We're not sure if that's true, but it appeared that was what he was doing. So here's Padilla. We know there's a watermark now. And we know that armed federal agents may have to be sent into some of these ballot counting locations because they are literally barring certain Republican poll watchers who have a legal right to be there from watching these polls and seeing what's going on. So we have now multiple allegations out there of voter fraud. It's not one state, it's multiple states. And I guess it's going to have to be looked into in some way, and the courts are going to have to start to examine these ballots, If in fact the watermark exists on these ballots, then every ballot that's legal will have that watermark on it, and those that aren't won't. And so we're going to have to, again, see how this plays out, if this was a sting operation, or is it, we don't know yet. Trump's playing some 5D chess right now, right? He stepped back out of the picture. He's saying it's fraud, and he's letting his team expose that fraud now. So we'll have to see how these states end up closing, when they end up closing. It looks like Georgia's set for a recount. Now, here's the thing: if these states start to get recounted, well, then they're going to expose what ballots are real and what aren't, is my assumption, because they're going to use a certain machine that can expose it, or whatever the technology is. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. Did they use some kind of quantum voting tech in these ballots and set a trap for these guys? So if you do, let's say throw out a big bunch of Trump ballots and you just chuck them in the ditch somewhere, well, they might be able to find them then, unless you burned them all. So, who knows? We've been seeing these votes turn up in ditches and be lost and be dumped in the back of businesses. I mean, I've seen all kinds of stuff go down. People going in other people's mailboxes. Trump's still up in North Carolina pretty good. And we'll just have to see how it plays out. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure exerted on these states who are slow rolling these results to get these results finished. I mean, Nevada should be done. This is ridiculous. It's not a huge state. It's large in size, but it's not large in population. They should have been done by now. So it's obvious that I think they don't have the vote for Biden, and they're trying to figure out a way to do this, but there's so much attention now on these people. You got a magnifying glass on you. So that's what I think's going on. That's my gameplay on this. I think they set a trap for these guys, because how else can you catch them? There's no way, right? You have to find something with the ballots where you can prove that this ballot is not real, and here's how it's not real. It doesn't have this watermark in it. This watermark cannot be reproduced, period. Almost impossible if it's quantum voting tech, and that's why we need to go to the quantum voting system, because it's fair. It doesn't allow this type of cheating. You can only vote one time, period. And once you vote, it creates a quantum voting, a signature at the moment that you vote that cannot be duplicated. And that's what we're talking about here. And so I think what this is really all about in the end is exposing the fraud of this whole system and how it works. And the mail-in ballots, like Trump was saying, it's rife with fraud. It's easy to do fraud, and they're showing you how easy it is to do. That you can literally change an election just simply by stalling it for a while until you print up enough ballots that you can win the states you need to win. And that's what they're doing. That's my take on it, guys. So let's see how this all plays out. I think if any recounts start in these states like Michigan, Wisconsin, now Georgia, and maybe others, that you're going to see a lot of fraud come out because they're going to start counting these things. And if the government has to step in and have someone else count them, then they'll do that because they need to see, everyone needs to see the fraud that was committed. And the only way to really show you with definitive proof of that fraud is to say, hey, there's no watermark on hundreds of thousands of these ballots, and here's the proof. What we can show you that there's no watermark, and we'll show you one that there is the watermark, and you can make your own decision on what you think is going on here. So that's where I think we are, guys. So thanks for everything and for watching, and I hope you have a good day. Talk soon.